You stand by.
I've been following you.
Hey.
Get squeezed. Take one well, whatever.
They fell this time. They sent me the thing last night.
We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a hard stop today at 9 a.m. So just wanted to put that out there. That's from 8 to 9, and we have a hard stop at 9 a.m. today. And so to get us started, I would first like to welcome everyone here to Tryon, Oklahoma. So I want everyone to be very, very honest. I want you to raise your hand if you live in Tryon, Oklahoma. If you will raise your hand, you have a house address in Tryon, Oklahoma. Yay! So we are going to, let me get my notes here real quick. Hold on just a minute. I had a different sheet here. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to get started this morning by Pledge of Allegiance, and our mayor is going to lead us in prayer. So I'm looking for the flag. We used to have a flag over there. Does anybody have a flag on their hat?
I've got one in there in the room.
There's one else.
All right, we're going to get that real quick. All right, so before we get started, we'll get our flag. I wanted to make sure that everyone here knew that this is the first Lincoln County legislative breakfast to be held in Tryon, Oklahoma. Yay! And part of that was last year was the first year that a gentleman by the name of Tommy Smith, he had organized Lincoln County breakfasts for 20 years. And last year was the first year that he said, I'm retiring from this volunteer job. Find someone else to do it. And so what ended up happening was working with Senator Grant Green and at the time Representative Kevin Wallace, they noticed that they weren't really visiting all of the towns in Lincoln County. And so what we ended up doing was kind of researching why and what had happened over those 20 years. It just kind of became routine. If there was a Chamber of Commerce in that town, that's why the Lincoln County legislative breakfast was occurring. So what I ended up doing was reaching out to the town administrators to find out if they would fill that void of helping. So we definitely want to thank the town administrators, the city employees, for organizing. They did the flyer, they put it on Facebook, they got the breakfast and the coffee ready, so we appreciate them. And this is also our first kickoff for the 2025 year. So we're going to pause there. Now they have a flag, and so if everybody would please stand, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody ready? Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then our mayor, Mr. Rocky Cooper, is going to lead us in prayer.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King eternal. We thank you, Father, that things are as well as they are. We thank you for a sound mind and a good heart towards you and towards each other. Would you grant us the opportunity, Father, to share our thoughts and to have a peaceful conversation and to have answers to our questions. And again, thank you, Lord, that we have a place that we can come to and that we might be able to praise your name and to honor our flag of our country. These things have kind of fallen short in the last few years. We thank you for it. Would you help us now, Lord, to have a good conversation? Would you help us to remember you in all of the things that we do? And we praise you in the name of our blessed and resurrected word of life, Jesus, our Messiah. Amen.
All right. Okay, everybody have a seat. So, I'm going to do things just a little bit different than what we've done in the past, and that is because I think that it's important, especially those who are not from Tryon, and even maybe those from Tryon that don't know. So, I pulled a few statistics just to kind of get things in these two head. And that is the Tryon's population, based upon the 2020 census, is 363. That is the official count for Tryon. That is actually a decline from 395 that was in the 2010 census. Based upon the 2022, so a couple years ago, records, the total sales tax collected for Tryon was $60,000. The use tax was $21,000. So add that up, you got about $81,000. That is what the town of Tryon has for street repair, water, wastewater, and city employee salaries, and a whole host of other things. The budget obviously does not support what the infrastructure needs for the town. Some fun facts about grants. So my name is Leslie Wilbourn, and other than volunteering to do this, I'm the grants administrator for the town of Tryon. And so what also is a barrier for Tryon, one thing is because the population is so small, when we do look at state and federal grants, you do qualify as rural. So that puts you into a separate category, which helps. Unfortunately, what hinders is the fact that you are not classified as a disadvantaged community. In order to be a disadvantaged community, you have to be 80% of the state's median household income. So the state's median household income is $67,000. The town of Tryon's is $55,000, which is 83%. So by 3%, Tryon misses out on that disadvantaged community, and that really does make it harder. You know, it's like we're competing against the Stroud and some of those other rules that have a much greater budget for infrastructure. So for those of you who don't know, the Tryon City Hall building was considered too dangerous to occupy in 2023 when the ice storm came in. The roof started collapsing, and it was too dangerous for the employees. That was also where the public library was at. They still have records over there that are basically beginning to mold and deteriorate because they could not get them out before all of the damage was done. But currently, City Hall is housed next door in a little rental house that the church is helping with. And Brittany has been working with David Hinkle from COED. They have received grant funds so that they can build the new City Hall on Highway 105 right there with Tiger Park. So hopefully a new building will be coming soon. Another thing that I'm really proud of Tryon for doing is they were recently awarded the TSED Healthy Incentives Grant. So they got awarded the bronze medallion, which will be $10,000 that they will use as matching money for the new City Hall. And that fund can help where, as all of you know, when you build something, you always fall short on the budget. That $10,000 is wonderful to help ensure that they can finish out the kitchen area so that they can have employed workplace wellness, as well as a lot of kid-friendly activities that will encourage movement, etc. So they worked very hard on that, and I was very proud of them this morning when I showed up, and they were demonstrating what they learned through the TSET activities, which is you always offer someone a healthy choice as well as those really good donuts. So at this time, I would like to introduce, and we're going to first introduce Senator Grant Green and then Representative Jim Shaw, and they're going to give you just basically a welcome statement and kind of give you a perspective of what is going on at the state capitol. So Senator Grant Green, you get to go first.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you to everybody here at Tryon that helped make this happen. One thing about Leslie, I work with her on lots of grants that throughout the county that she's been successful on several of them. So we got started this Monday. I've already had a committee meeting. I am chairman of Energy. So we got Jeff Starling across in committee is our new Secretary of Energy. I don't know, it's kind of ironic. I went on a pheasant hunt in South Dakota, and I hunted all day with a guy by the name of Jeff. Well, I had no idea he was Jeff Starling that I was fixing to bring across the committee. He come to meet me in my office, and he walked in. I go, gosh, I know you. But he will be wonderful, wonderful for Oklahoma. He's very much an oil and gas guy. He understands where we're at in Oklahoma with the renewables. He's going to be a great fit. So we got our new appointments. I'm chair of energy. I'm chair of OMES oversight. I am on ag and wildlife. I'm on economic development. And then I'm one of 4 senators that's on the LOFT committee, which is the legislative oversight of fiscal transparency. And then I'm one of 4 senators that got put on the lead committee, which is the legislative economic development. And what that does, every economic development that is hunting any kind of government or state rebates, whether it's through their payroll, they got to reach thresholds to get them, any of that stuff. They got to have a certain amount of investment in capital, certain amount of employee thresholds, and then their state rebates. But any of that has to vet through that legislative committee. We got started. There's 3,000, around 3,100 bills filed. I think 1,100 of them was in the Senate. Committee chairs are now trying to figure out what their agendas will be. We'll have an agenda or an energy meeting next Thursday. I have a wildlife meeting, I think 10 o'clock Monday, so it'll be going. We done appropriations all this week. We had all of our subcommittees where we met with each of our subcommittee directors, and we worked through their budget. I'll just tell you, most of them's asking for way too much money. I think by the BOE number, we are starting $350 million down from what we were this time last year, and that's because of the grocery tax will be fully realized, and then the tax credit, school tax credit, be fully realized this year as well. So we'll start down $350 million down from where we were this time a year ago. I'll turn it over to Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you guys for having us this morning. So this week was kind of the first week in session, like Senator Green mentioned. For myself, committees that I got appointed to, I'm vice chair of the State Powers Committee in the House. I'm also on Government Modernization and Technology. I'm on the A&B Natural Resources Subcommittee, and then I'm on the Oversight Committee for General Government. Our A&B committees were meeting in previous weeks, hearing some of the budgetary requests from agencies that fall within our committees. And to your point, there's a lot of ask there from a lot of those agencies. Only a few of them were at a flat level compared to last year. The rest of them were asking for quite a bit more. We started having some committee meetings this week. We had a Government Modernization and Technology meeting where we heard a couple of bills. The bill count's probably going to start to go up in terms of what we're hearing in committee next week. So the House instituted a new kind of 2-tiered system on the committee. So everything in the past, the A and B committees always had a 2-tier. There were subcommittees there that rolled up to the A and B committee, but they've now mimicked that with every other committee on the House side. So we've got policy committees that bills have to be heard, voted on, and then they go to an oversight committee that have to be heard and voted on, then they go to the floor team and then potentially get scheduled for the floor. So there's kind of an added layer there that they've instituted this year, which as of late this week, I talked to a senior member yesterday who said that this was probably the busiest week he can remember after having been there about 8 years so far. So it's definitely causing everything to be a little bit more higher tempo. You know, we're limited to about 8 bills that we can run on the house side, and I have 8 that I'm running. The top kind of 5 are obviously going to be green energy related, or the first 3 for me, and then talking about biosolids, and then also talking about foreign ownership of land kind of is the first handful that I'm going to be pushing. And to Senator Green's point, everything's been kind of assigned to committee, and now we're waiting for committee chairs to start looking at those and putting those on the schedule. So that it was certainly an interesting first week, but that's pretty good overview, I suppose.
Very good. At this time, we'd like to introduce some of the individuals here that are Tryon community leaders. And so you got to hear the prayer earlier from our mayor, Rocky Cooper. So where did Rocky go? There you are, right in front of me. Is there anything as the mayor of Tryon that you would like to ask these 2 individuals? Putting you on the spot, and I know that I am.
We're gonna have more free donuts? No, there's nothing I can think of. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions.
All right, very good. And then in the back, we have Miss Brittany, who is Tryon City Clerk. And then we have Kimberly, who is Tryon Public Works Authority. And so you think about it, the activities that the city of, or the town of Tryon has to do from start to finish is just like Craig, Shroud, Chandler. But the staff here is so limited because, again, there's just not the funding. There's not the budget to have a town administrator. So they end up wearing lots of roles, lots of hats. So we're going to go on to our next item, which is, it is an election time for many of our small towns. And so if you are running for one of the board seats here in Tryon, would you raise your hand if you are running for one of the board seats? Oh, he raised his hand. He's going to run in the future. That's right. So you're running again. So you have any, like, you know, please vote for me speech, because that's what this is about.
Yeah, please vote for me. Thank you very much.
But there was a good turnout of individuals who want to serve on the board, and so that is always great. It is hard to run, and so we appreciate anyone who did run. We also have some individuals here that are representing Lincoln County, and so I'm going to let the individuals in the table right here kind of stand up, introduce themselves, and just kind of your role and responsibility for Lincoln County, because we appreciate all that you do.
I'm Alicia Wagner, Lincoln County Clerk, and my role and responsibility, we file land records, we do payroll, we do Board of County Commissioners, agendas and meeting minutes, and purchasing for the entire county. We do a lot. And I did have a question for Representative Shaw, if you don't mind.
Yes.
On the House bill, there's a few House bills out that, on the foreign ownership of property, which I completely understand. The affidavit that you're wanting us to file, we already have an affidavit that's required of all the deeds that the Attorney General prepared for us on foreign ownership, on whether or not they're citizens. Requiring a second affidavit, besides being costly to the customers and just causes frustrations with the customers, is there any way we can put that second question on the funds that they're using on that same affidavit?
I'll definitely look into that. I mean,
Okay.
that seems like that would make sense, but yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
I'll make a note of that for sure.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
So I'm going to follow up real quick, because last year you had brought up a good point that sometimes, I think, if I understood, and I could be wrong, what I understood you to say last year was that when that paperwork comes, it's really too late. The transaction had already occurred. Has that changed, or is that still an issue?
It's not an issue now. I mean, customers know that they have to, well, they know when they come in the office a lot of times that they have to file that affidavit. So it's just dealing with the customers now is not a problem. But I think adding the second affidavit, which is going to cost more to file it, is going to be a problem. People don't like adding extra cost to what they're doing. You know, they come in thinking I'm going to spend $20 and it ends up being $24. Even it's not that much, but it is, you know, a source of contingency sometimes.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right.
I'm Kevin Garrett. I'm the new Lincoln County Sheriff. Ted Woodhead is our undersheriff. We're really fortunate that we've got Ted. He brings a lot of experience. I can tell you we are having so much fun with our 34, 35 days in office. And to the gentleman up here, you know, we have a lot of newer employees. We have a lot of guys that are very personable. You're going to like them if you have any dealings with them. I know Howard, we've got a guy that, a couple of deputies up this way, that I think you can already see a little bit more activity as far as trying to assist on anything that we've got going on. One of the issues that we need to have, and there's some neighborhood watch programs that I know some people that are here, is if you see something suspicious or if you have a bad feeling on something, call us. We will get there. I mean, we just started. We've got 3 work nights last night. We've got a drug dog that just came on board. We've got another one that's going through some training to get there. The handler got bit by an Oklahoma City dog, had a bad infection in his leg, so that slowed us down probably a month on getting that running. The mental health issues, the jail part is what really makes it fun. Ted's always saying it's the gift that doesn't quit giving. Well, you know, it's just so difficult, and not everybody has, and I really didn't have an understanding as being a cop as many years as I have. You arrest people and they go here to the jail. But you would be surprised the kind of clientele that we get. We recently had somebody that had a liver transplant, I think, so there's special medications and things that go into effect, and those things have come out of, they're supposedly paid for it, but it really doesn't work that way. Trying to get somebody out of the jail that has mental health issues that needs to be in a state facility like Griffin or Veneta is difficult. Now, one thing that Mrs. Wagner has done, we had a $100,000 mental health grant through an opioid grant process. That has really kind of helped us because we have a psychiatrist that works with the medical staff, and it kind of steps aside the other process of going through Red Rock and this and that, and it's really, we've actually gotten, was it 2 or 3 to Griffin? 3. Hey, that's a miracle. I mean, they don't have many beds, and for that to work, maybe it's just luck. We've got some good connections up there, but between everything and the teamwork of it all working together, I mean, it's really helped us a lot. But other than that, we had an interesting arrest a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. There was a grow that got robbed down at 177 and 62. I don't know if anybody's aware of it or not. We had people that got kidnapped that worked there. They were zip tied. But luckily, one of them was in a different building called the sheriff's office. All of our local departments had sent somebody to help. Ted got there before I did, and a group, and confronted these guys in the act, you know, robbing this marijuana grow. We had a perimeter set up, rolled right in. We had 3 tribes plus the other 2 tribes down in Pot County helped out. Pot County showed up, all the PDs around, and we actually arrested 5 individuals. That doesn't happen. And this is 1:30 in the morning, and by 5:30 we had everybody caught. And we had some bite dogs that showed up, had the drones from Pot County, our emergency management up here in Lincoln County. So the teamwork is unbelievable. So everybody that's in a community that has law enforcement that works with us, and you know, we've kind of always thought that working a good relationship with the police departments and the tribes helps us, but really we were on our own. From a law enforcement standpoint, the 2 o'clock in the morning stuff, when you need something immediately, we have to work together in order to have, you know, positive responses, and no one got hurt, thank God. So other than that, my wife tells me to only talk 3 or 4 minutes, not her.
I'll report in, you only went over a little.
Gotcha.
All right, is there anyone else here that represents Lincoln County in an elected role or official capacity? I don't want to leave anyone out if I don't recognize anyone.
Anyone has what?
Nobody has anything. It's all good. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to put Representative Jim Shaw on the spot. So if you would please discuss with us some of the current, you know, the calls that you get, the questions that you get, you know, what is if you were to make like a top 2 or 3, these are the things that, you know, your legislative aide is constantly getting phone calls and emails about, you know, what is coming into your office?
Yeah, that's a good question. Lately, this week, you know, a lot of the calls have been centered around kind of a handful of bills that have been in. A lot of the calls have been centered around a handful of bills that have been introduced either in the House or the Senate side, and people kind of voicing their approval or disapproval of those. A few of those bill numbers that people have talked about. You mentioned one just a little bit ago, which was Representative Humphrey, House Bill 1343, talking about mental health and transitioning that to DOC. Got a lot of messages from people about that. He released a press release just recently saying that really wasn't what he was trying to accomplish at the end of the day. He was just trying to get some attention on a different issue. A bill on the Senate side, 1017, that Dusty Devers had issued. He drew that back, which would have been talking about some of the services within schools for kids that need some additional needs. Email and phone traffic is around bills that people are starting to hear about. They're getting assigned a committee. It's kind of popping up on people's radars. I've had some contacts, you know, reaching out about my bills, a lot of which are in support of the bills that I've been issuing. Some other people outside of the district and around the state, you know, there's been a few differing opinions on some of my bills, so I certainly hear that as well. But yeah, a lot of the contact rate this week has just been about people voicing their opinions on various legislation. So,
Same question for Senator Grant Group.
Well, my email inbox was 1017. It was, I really think we had close to 80 some emails just on 1017.
Describe what 1017 is for those that don't know.
What it did, I mean, I think his language was not what he intended. And he took so much backlash that he said he's asking it not to be heard. The way it read was he was pulling money back from kids that have IEPs in public schools. What he said he intended, which would have been real easy to just say, I want to audit those funds. That's what he wanted to make sure that those services that money for those services was going where it needed to go. I don't know why he went to the depths he went, but if he truly just wanted it audited, that's what he should ask for. But that was the bulk of mine this week. I mean, there's always some on, you know, one or two here or one or two there on different pieces of legislation that's being introduced. This week, I think, is when it'll really fire up with committee work. So.
Very good. All right, when you signed in, we asked you to identify your concerns. So I'm looking through here because I'm first going to, so Heather Eckel is here, and she had a concern about grants. So if you want to go ahead and kind of talk a little more about that.
Yeah. So my name is Heather Eckel, and I've been a resident here for 2.5 years. As many of you may know, our town has had a lot of grant mishaps and mismanagement. Would you consider there to be too much accountability surrounding grants awarded to our town? What would be considered to be too much transparency for our administration when residents bring questions or concerns to them? Would it be unreasonable for our administration to inform us of the percentage they agreed to pay our grant writer? Many of our residents have attempted to become more aware with quite a bit of kickback, which has left many of us feeling perplexed as to why.
Okay, so first of all, for some clarification, are you talking about the COVID grant for the building?
Well, so we had some mishaps before I moved here with the sheriff, and then, correct, we had just recently some mishaps on the new building that's being put up.
So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, on the co-ed grant that's paying for the building, there is no grant writer or grant administrator getting paid any of that.
That's correct, and so I am also speaking of what you just awarded us this past Tuesday.
So past Tuesday,
so there's a lot of grant monies coming in.
Okay,
Been-
so the $10,000 that was awarded from TSET Medallion, that full 10,000 goes straight to supporting the city.
Correct.
I didn't get paid anything.
That's correct.
So just to clarify, since I have been the grant administrator for about a year, I come to pretty much every meeting, I'd say. I have received zero pay. Zero.
Correct.
I've received nothing. So I just wanted to throw that out there because there seemed like there was a little accusation I was
No,
getting
the
paid too much.
percentage that you guys had agreed on behind closed doors in executive session was what I was referring to.
So-
For future.
So the percentage is actually dictated by the grant. So
Okay.
whenever I apply for a grant, the percentage that is going to be used to manage the grant, administer the grant, that is
Thank
dictated
you.
by the individual or the organization awarding it. And that is how that works. So there wasn't any, handshake deal or anything, going on behind closed doors. It's really one of the reasons why we do so many meetings behind closed doors on grant is through the economic development portion is because grants are very competitive. And because they are so competitive, all it would take is for someone to start following me around, and now all the research I've done to find a grant that works really well for Tryon, some other community could just come in and then they could whip out an application and they could beat us. And so a lot of that closed door is we are not trying in any way, shape, or form to make it look like we're hiding anything. We're really trying to protect our competitiveness so we can become more competitive.
Okay.
But just so everyone here understands, I have been the grant administrator. I have got paid zero. And we have been awarded the $10,000, and that grant is very clear. That $10,000 is to go 100% to the town, and it is. There's no money that I'm getting paid for from that. And then the co-ed grant, that was done actually before me, and that is being handled all in-house. And the actual 10% that is for administration, co-ed had already taken that off the top before they even got that. So
I would just say you can never have too much
Thank
transparency
you.
or oversight, whether it's federal dollars or state dollars. If it's taxpayer money, it needs oversight.
Thank you.
all right, so we'll go on to our next item, which, let's see.
Can I ask a question real quick about grants?
Sure, yes.
Just because I'm trying to understand too. When, someone, like a hospital or sheriff's department or, service receives a grant, do they ever have to then provide so many free services, like so many homeless beds or so many, I'm just grabbing for
No,
straws.
that's a good question.
But does that happen with grants?
So, first of all, I think it's very important for everyone to know that, first, like I said before, grants are extremely competitive. Extremely competitive. For example, we actually have a commissioner here. Mr. Thomas Tillison is the chairman of the Route 66 Commission that is revitalizing Route 66. The second round of grant funding, they had 86 applications just for a very small pot of money. If they had awarded everyone who had asked for, I believe the calculation was about $70 million. That's how much they would have had. They had $6 million to give away. So that is how competitive grants are. And really, the federal government, state government, foundation, whoever is organizing that grant, they're the ones in control. They are the ones in control. They write out pages of this is how you qualify, this is who can apply, this is all the documentation that you're going to have to gather and put together just to even get past the initial round one of you filled out everything exactly right. You can now be reviewed. So they're really the ones controlling that. They're deciding where the money's going to go. They're the ones deciding how much and to who it's going to go to, and they're the ones that are identifying what is the transparency or what are the requirements. They are the ones that dictate that. They decide how often you're going to submit a report, what the report's going to entail, all of that information. And I think that is why we are getting out a little bit of what used to be in the past grant writers. So grant writer is really basically an individual who would fill out the application and then their job was done. And talk about, an impact on small communities. Grant writers would charge you, or still do, charge you just to fill the application out. So that small town is paying money, and there's no guarantee they're even going to get the award. If they don't get the award, they're worse off than they were before, because they spent money that, was precious, and now they still don't get the award. And also what would happen is when the grant writer would basically say, okay, I'm done, the application's in, then what happens is if they're awarded, it's exactly what's happening here in Tryon. That is now an administrative burden on top of already overworked individuals that now have to administer the grant, in which they may not have been the one filling out the application and knowing all those requirements that had to be submitted. So that's one of the reasons why when I decided to go into grants, I wanted to look at it from a rural, small town perspective. What do they need? And really, it is more of a grant administrator that will research, get winning applications in, once awarded, administer that all the way to completion. So those questions are great, but those really are, it's up to who's giving the money. They are the ones that decide all of that.
Right. So just because I've had experience, I've lived in a small rural town where I've watched it happen. So, for example, a small little hospital was given a grant. Yay, we're all happy, we get all this new stuff. Now you're going to put in X amount of homeless beds, and you're going to do X amount of free services, and that's how it's going to go, and the town was destroyed.
Right.
At what point would that be disclosed to us in these small towns?
So I can only speak for what I do, and that's one of the reasons why we do go into executive session under the economic development portion, is so that we can have those open conversations without giving away basically our cards, so that we're not increasing the competition, that our work is staying very close to the best. And I spend quite a bit of time going over with them, if we apply for this grant, this is what you're going to be required to do. And there are grants that I bring to them that I caution them on, I don't think this is a good grant for you, because you are obligating yourself to something you may not be able to fulfill. And same thing with TSET. The board met with the committee, and one of the things that we talked about was for TSET, they have bronze, silver, and gold. The difference really between bronze and silver is that silver is basically putting in an ordinance that says that the town will not, and I'm going to maybe point to Melissa because she might know this better than me, but the town could not, if a new business came in and they wanted to sell cigarettes, and it was too close to a church, school, that's just cigarettes. There's not a law against it. It's just TSET is saying, we would want you to say no to that business. Well, in a small town, and so what I met with the board on was, if Dollar General came to town and said, we're going to set up on Main Street by the post office, and we're going to sell cigarettes, would you say yes because you need the tax revenue, or would you say no because you wanted to support TSET at that silver medallion, which would get you $15,000 more? And I said, I want you to be honest. And they said, we would have to say yes to Dollar General. We have to have the tax revenue. So we did not apply for the silver application. We only applied for bronze because we knew what TSET was asking us to do on the bronze level, we had no issue with doing. And that is different with having that relationship with a grant administrator than a grant writer who wants to get paid for an application. So they are pushing those applications. That probably is maybe something that happened in your experience.
Yeah.
It sounded like a good thing because it was money, but when you read the requirements, it ended up causing a lot more problems.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate the clarity on that.
You're welcome. Since we have
Senator,
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple things I want to bring up to you.
Okay.
Highway 177, the money 3 times has been brought up to widen it from Kearney to the county line. I know it's a federal thing, but maybe you could get something done about it. And Representative, I don't think there should be a cotton picking electric unit, car, truck, tractor in the state of Oklahoma bought for the state. We are a gas operated or diesel unit. Take those electric units and stick them back where they belong, wherever that is. I don't give a dang what they think. Senator, these dang air turbines, we don't need them in the state. I think they should be some way to block them, not to be able to build another dang one in the state of Oklahoma. Canada has bought 2 big units in their country because they're ruining the aquafilla. So I don't think we need them in Oklahoma. I don't know how we can do it, but no more. And if one goes to heck, Representative, then they have to be pulled, and the owner of the land gets the money for 5, 10, 15 years, but the unit pulled and done away with. Now there's 2 or 3 other things, but I'm sure other people want to say something to you about except this damn money stuff that I don't care about. And if the people of the Tryon would quit acting like babies and try to get along with each other, we'd have a much better city.
What's your name?
Smith, Richard L., Tryon, Oklahoma.
I do believe that's on the 8-year plan to finish this 177.
One other thing.
Yes, sir.
Wide loads that are escorted from dark Friday till sunup Monday off the highway. Those wide loads don't need to be out there on Saturday and Sunday, especially when I'm half drunk.
May I add to that? I pull a large horse trailer. My point is, I do not believe Highway 18 is suitable for wide loads. There is no shoulder, and I am terrified that one of these times, coming around that curve, or down a hill, I'm going to encounter one of those things, and it's going to take the side of my horse trailer off and all my horses' heads. And so until Highway 18 is constructed with a pull-off lane, a wider median, there's a little 18-inch strip the last time it got paved that got added. But that's insufficient. There's no shoulder. You just go down like this, and I'm going to have a wreck one of these days.
They have to apply for a permit, and they usually send those wherever the height and the width will accommodate them. I agree. I mean, I see them 102 highway at Wellston is not much more than a trail. And I see them wide loads go down it all the time, and it's nothing but hills and driveways.
Yep.
And now that we've got all that construction over there, we're getting even more of them. I mean, them loads have to move, and they try to find the safest way. Granted, it's not always the best way.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying Highway 18 is not suitable.
Right.
177 is much more suitable.
There might be a height restriction through
399
Perkins or
is
something,
much
I don't
more
know.
suitable.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question. I wanted,
They have started to work on 177, not between Kearney and Four Corners.
They have.
this is for Senator Green.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Met you a year ago at my first legislative breakfast. That's when I got involved in all this turbine and the human error and everything because of how it's affecting us. At that point, you were just kind of middle. You were saying you didn't have one thing one way or another. I think that this county has really come together as far as how we stand on these things. And I want to know, are you now willing to work with us and willing to represent what our interests are, the majority, not a minority, not a few people that want it, because the people that have signed around me, they don't live here. Everybody, I have not met one person who wants those near them, and I want to know how you stand now, if you are now on our fighting side, or if we're still fighting against you.
Okay, number one, I was never in the middle. I was a property rights. That's what I said.
Okay.
And I'm still property rights. But I will tell you, as I dug into this, I couldn't believe there was no state standards on wind or solar.
Right.
I'm not a knee-jerk person. I researched that. I have legislation that pushes it away from the non-participating landowners and pushes away from dwellings. That way, it's still a property rights, but it's protecting the property rights of the neighbor as well.
But what I'm saying is, we don't want them, period.
Well,
I don't want to know how to live with them. I don't want them, period. And
listen, I'm very much an oil and gas person. I will tell you that. And everybody at that Capitol knows I'm an oil and gas person. But until they quit sending federal money down here, that's the issue. These wouldn't stand on their own without federal money.
But they wouldn't stand on their own without other people that are standing in the way either.
But you do understand, before that any bills can get passed, they got to go all the way through that Capitol. And western Oklahoma, gobs of people love these windmills.
They don't live here.
Well, I understand that, but you've got to have legislation that will get passed. You've got to it does no good to put something out there that makes everybody feel good.
That's what you told
and then
us
it don't
last
get passed.
You told us you guys could write a bill, but it's not going to get passed. What I want is enough integrity that the wording that goes into the bill fits what the citizens want and is strong enough to get passed. We don't want to learn how to live with them. We don't want to learn how to live with the solar. We don't want to learn how to live with the battery things. We want them 100% stopped. And that's what we have shown as a group. And I understand where Mr. Shaw stands, but I want to make sure that you're also representing the majority of us that do not want them.
I'm absolutely representing you to the point of something that I think will get passed. If you just talk about Lincoln County, the only way to correct that is zoning in Lincoln County.
But we have 13 counties that are now fighting this.
Well, it's got to be a joint effort because that's 13 counties. So that's probably 13 representatives out of 101.
Right.
And that's probably, 4 senators out of 48. So it's got to be something that can get passed across the rotunda and the governor's going to sign. And you've got a governor right now that is not going to sign that stuff.
Well,
So,
he's on his way out.
well, I'm just telling you, I'm doing everything I can do that I think I can get across the rotunda and get it to the governor and the governor's.
What's your setback?
A quarter mile off of non-participating.
No, that's not good enough.
Related a little different.
This picture right here is more than a quarter mile.
Well, just
To that
know,
house.
anything over a quarter mile, somebody with 160 acres cannot have a wind turbine. Only a section of ground to one wind turbine. So nobody in western Oklahoma is going to vote for that. Nobody. Anything over a quarter mile, it takes a section of ground to have one turbine.
I have a
On your
neighbor that
352 eminent domain,
Yes.
I love your second article.
That fits me to a T. The third one came back with a lot of fiscal responsibility. You know, do you think that's gonna be killed because of those costs that came
Let
back
me
on
look at it.
three?
I've got 2 eminent domain. One I'm a co-author, and one I'm an
Okay,
author.
this is 352, you're author.
I'm an author of it.
Yeah.
It's one I've been working with Farm Bureau, I believe.
$352.
Jim, while he's looking at that, can you tell us about the bill that you're proposing for the offset setbacks for wind turbines?
Yeah, you got it, you want me to go?
I don't see a 352 in mine.
So the setback bill that I have is House Bill 1451.
Oh, there it is. I'm a co-author. I'm a
Co-author,
co-author.
okay.
So this is, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is me working with Farm Bureau. I've been working with them since summer. And this is, I don't have legislation with me, but this is making all wind, solar, and transmission where they cannot use eminent domain. And I believe it takes it down to the Corporation Commission. They've got to file an application with the Corporation Commission. I'm not 100% sure on it. I haven't read it in probably 3 months, but that's what it does. This is a Farm Bureau bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that transmission, is that for the eminent domain, is that public eminent domain or just
No, you.
private?
That's
this one
a
it says
different
private,
statute.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one says private property.
Okay.
Senator Green and Representative Schalbo, I have a question. Can you guys pass any legislation that is only specific to certain districts in the state of Oklahoma?
To my knowledge, you cannot.
That'd be a special law.
Okay. Well, and I think that's kind of the hill that we're looking to climb sometimes. There's a lot of people that, like you say, don't like these things. But you can't pass legislation as a state representative or as a state senator that doesn't apply to the entire state. Is that correct?
I mean, there was a bill introduced last session that targeted a specific county.
Well, have you seen a bill passed that is specific to
Not
a
to
district?
my knowledge.
Okay, or a county?
I think it's against state law. It's called a specialized law.
Could I respond to that?
I'm just asking.
I understand. It is the responsibility of our representative, both state, both local, to protect the people, okay? And I want to get away from looking at the money and the politics and have it well known the extent of damage that these will do. Anything else that was near this dangerous, the rest of the country would be appalled. The rest of the state would be appalled. The people out in western Oklahoma that have these, they don't have the amount of people that we have, and they darn sure did not do the amount of research that we have done. I personally will be heavily, heavily affected. My health, I probably won't live a year if they put one in near me because of all the research I've done. I know what it's going to do. I'm tired of it being a political thing and it start being something where you are doing whatever you can to protect the citizens that you represent, the citizens that are your neighbors.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, sir.
I am 100% behind protecting the citizens if I have any input in that with my vote or whatever. But I'm also 100% behind figuring out what I can impact on the net side. So what I'm saying is, if I can't pass it at a state level, and I can scream from the roofs at the Capitol saying, we don't like it in Lincoln County, but I can't get anything done because it applies to the entire state, and I can't get that across the line, then I would want to look at something that would yield a net result. And that net result probably isn't popular, but that means at the county level you pass county zoning. And you can set anything you want through the county and through that board. But that's where you come back to the pushback is, does all of a sudden that zoning board be able to say, how many cattle can you run? Can you shoot your guns? But no, those are facts.
I know,
That's not my opinion.
But you're going into something that you're saying, if it is and if it will pass. If enough people are passionate about it, If enough people do their research, then it will go through. It will. But I'm tired of, we can't do anything about that. You don't want zoning, you don't want this, you don't want that. What I've been told is what I don't want. What I do want is somebody that will stand up and represent us for what our life
And I
is,
think
because it
both of
affects our whole
our
life.
representatives do that, 100%.
But I also think it's, and I'm taking my hat off and putting my Lincoln County citizen, I think it's unfair to say us as everyone in Lincoln County agrees with you. I don't agree with you.
You don't?
I do not agree with the bullying that your Facebook page does. I don't agree with the public shaming that you guys are doing with public records and humiliating people. You have quieted a strong group of people because they're afraid. They are afraid of you and Facebook because you embarrass them. You pull their public records. What if we turned around and pulled all of your records?
I didn't do that.
Your group
I
did.
Your
group did.
You are putting me in with a group. You're saying I'm doing the same thing. What I am is an individual.
That's
That
right,
they
and
want
I'm
to
an
put it on
individual,
my house.
and I'm
On
an
my
individual, and you know what? I listen to all of the research that you guys put out there, and guess what? My son had a baseball game, a baseball tournament in Enid, Oklahoma. I drove out to Enid, Oklahoma, and you know what? I thought that the wind turbines were pretty.
Well,
You know what? I thought.
Hey, this is turning into something that we don't need. We need these gentlemen.
Thank you.
On that topic, has anybody heard of liquor
Sorry
by the
to
drink,
break
like
in,
county
but-
option? County option for liquor by the drink. Why not county option for wind turbines?
Yeah, why not?
Break the bill.
The example
There
that
is
you
a
talked
way.
about a minute ago, it did pass.
The one that was county specific.
Correct.
Okay.
What was it, Robbie?
I don't have, there's someone on here talking, and it was hydrogen bill, and it passed. The one that we're talking about.
Why that
They
passed.
banned it, or they agreed to some kind of tax to bring hydrogen in?
There was a specific bill in a specific county,
I
and
saw one, something about Washington County.
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Washington
And
County,
so-
hydrogen, it spells it right out of the bill, Washington County.
But is it banning it, or are they approving it?
I'll find it, I can't recall. But it's still, how can this be in a state law, it's on a specific county?
Exactly.
I would love to see it. I would
Yeah.
love to see it.
But why not liquor by the drink? Why not?
Was that a state question that
It was a
put
state
it back
question.
to the counties?
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
It was House Bill 4065.
and when was that?
80s?
No, you're talking about the Washington County.
The Washington
Hydrogen
County.
County.
Oh.
I have a question.
Yes.
Speaking of bringing it back to local, Murdoch has a bill 1012 that was assigned to your committee, giving authority to the school board to sign waivers for turbines. Do you plan on hearing that, or how do you feel about that bill?
Right now, it's on my notice. I don't want to expand anything. I mean, I am all about local control. But I don't want to go backwards with something.
I just didn't understand why a school board would have authority to do something like that, yet our county commissioners don't seem to be able to do a damn thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with you, but they're wanting more dollars for them schools is why.
Right.
And he's out right in the middle of all the wind towers.
Yeah.
So
that would be a conflict of interest there. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
for the school board to sign a waiver just so they can get the money, whether or not it's safe or.
Right. I don't plan on rolling stuff.
Senator Green, wouldn't a logical solution be to pass laws based on population density? That seems real logical to me. Western Oklahoma has low population density. They can have the wind turbines. But, and then eastern counties and also forest growth, you know, no trees, no people.
Right.
And then you're not doing what you're saying, you know, can't be done.
Well, I know a quarter mile's not enough for most folks. I'll just tell you. But it still has property rights in it. And as populated as we are, you start looking at how many full quarters are out there, it's going to eliminate a bunch. And Go ahead.
Just, could you just circle back when you're done with explaining, because I don't want to interrupt.
Oh,
you.
you're fine.
I want to be
You're
respectful.
And thank you.
You're welcome. Could you then circle back to liquor by the drink for termites?
I didn't hear you.
Liquor by the, could you, when you're done?
I'll look at how that was done. I will, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I will look at how that was done.
Thank you.
You bet.
Representative Shaw, I got a question for you. When you look in the affidavit side of what Alicia was talking to you about, can you also look and see if there's a way, because we're running into it a bunch. I think there's a lot of, it's always, as far as I know, for a very long time, it's been state law that you must be a U.S. citizen to own property in the state of Oklahoma. And this affidavit is another layer of accountability to say that you are stating that you are, that's not just an oversight, so there could be some more teeth in prosecuting someone for lying about that. But what we're running into with one of the companies that I have is if we have an agreement, a contract for deed for a piece of property, and they keep changing these affidavits. So we've had to go back to like 400 customers and get the affidavit signed because it was a new law. Well, then we got all those affidavits signed, and then they come out with a new affidavit. Can you see if when we execute those affidavits, if that's something that could be added into that, that it's perfected at that point? So what happens is down the road, and if we have somebody that doesn't pay or doesn't complete their contractual obligation and we have to foreclose, then with these changes, we have to go to someone that we're foreclosing on and say, hey, could you sign this affidavit so we could file your deed so we can start foreclosure? Not a very good position to be in. And I don't think that was the intentions of it. But I'd like to see if we can get the notarized perfection of that affidavit to be the compliance date, so if something changes after that, it would be grandfathered in at that point, at that date and time.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that, because if things are changing, they're probably changing for a reason, right? And so, you don't necessarily want to grandfather everything in if there's some conditions that today need to be met that weren't satisfied in the original affidavit, but I'll look into that a little bit, but I'd have to study up on that a little bit.
Well, and we're even running into some problems even different than that, like if someone has passed away and it's transferred and given to the people that were supposed to inherit it, and then you do a deed. There's other situations where you almost can't get an affidavit signed.
Okay. Well, and ultimately, just to be clear on what the bill that we're talking about on the foreign-owned land, it is currently supposedly unlawful for a foreign national to own land, right? But there's no enforcement or penalty mechanism whatsoever in that statute. Okay. So that's what this new law.
There's no teeth.
There's no teeth to it. So that's what I'm instituting is there would be, you'd have to divest any land if you're a foreign national and you're not a permanent resident of this country or a lawful resident of the country. You would have to divest your property in 1 year, and you'd have potential, jail time or fines or both, right? So that's the intent behind it, and there's already this affidavit mechanism in place where they're signing it and saying, attesting to that. All of the potential duplicate work there, and see if there's a way to streamline that. But just wanted to explain what that bill is intended to do.
Right. But I mean, if we have the executed affidavit, then that's saying that they are agreeing to that. But you're saying, but you could probably word that where the laws would still apply, like if there was a change in law for that particular unit or that affidavit, that it would still apply. But I'm just saying it's really tough to go out and force someone to sign one when you need it per the state statute on perfecting a clean title again. I have no way, I've got multiple ones that I have no way to force someone to sign that because those agreements were prior to.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that.
We did, I think it was last year we passed, we went after the people that are fronting foreign nationals to own land and put some teeth in that last year. Yeah, it passed.
Does this include American corporations owned by foreign nationals?
Yes. Yes. Well, so if there's an entity, if there's a business entity that has a majority stake, either ownership or shareholder stake, that is hostile foreign nationals, and the definition of that is the federal definition, that they use to keep track of the countries that are hostile towards the U.S. But yes, it would include LLCs or corporations that have a majority interest being owned by foreign nationals.
And that's all foreign nationals, or is that just hostile?
Just the federal code that deems them hostile. Yeah.
Jim, when I pull up bills on eminent domain in the House, there's 4 of them, and they reference, all 4 of them, reference the Oklahoma Eminent Domain Act of 2025. But when you pull them up, all you get is the front page, like there's sort of a shell or a placer. Is there something?
There's a
is there
companion
one?
bill for mine in the
Uh-huh.
House. I'm not sure who has
I
it.
can't remember who
I
has it
think
either.
Bowles.
It's either Bowles or Dobrinsky.
I think
it's
Bowles has it, but one of them is a companion bill to mine that Farm Bureau's been working on.
So there is at least, I mean, is there going to be an act done for eminent domain in Oklahoma in 2025?
Yes, I think we'll start pulling it back everywhere we can. Everywhere we can. Yeah.
Oh, I did while you were gone. Oh.
Senator Green, I brought a sheet. I pulled up the copies of the wind turbine bills from the Senate side, and there's a list of those. You mentioned yours as the top of the list, quarter mile, which is 1,320 feet, right?
Yes.
Right. Then there's those others. There's 429 by Hamilton that says 1.5 miles from a residential dwelling or non-property, non-participating. Then there's one by Bergstrom, 1026, 2,000 feet from residential dwelling or non-participating property. So are any of those other 2 going to be heard, or is only yours going to be heard, or how will that work?
We are.
You can keep that.
Well, I've got it. We're hearing mine.
Okay.
And I'm talking to Hamilton about his. I'm not hearing Bergstrom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and your 1,320 feet, from my understanding and talking with the Apex folks, they already won't put one within 1,250 feet. So you're adding 70 feet?
I'm making a statewide standard.
Right,
And-
but I mean, as far
and-
as Lincoln County goes, Apex is planning for 1,250. So you're adding
Right.
70 feet? That's my question.
And if they don't, do you have any teeth to go back if there's not a state standard?
We need one, I agree.
Right.
I agree we need one. But I don't think 1,320 is enough, that's my point.
Well, it goes back to property rights. If you go over that, you gotta have a section of ground to have one tower.
Fine with me.
You gotta have a section of ground to have one tower.
Okay.
Okay, so
I see it.
I have 160 acres. I live on a family farm that my grandma grew up on.
Right.
It's been in our family since 1990. We got 160.
Right.
Within 1 mile of my mailbox, I've got 25 other houses near me. The guy next to me's got 20, the one across the street's got 10, next to him's 5, and then there's 2.5, and then there's 50. Quarter mile, not gonna cut it.
It's not gonna be far enough. You got that many houses, and if
There's over 25 houses within 1 mile of
and
my
you
mailbox.
can, and you can go a quarter mile from all those houses and still have a tower.
They could on my 160. Yeah.
Well, there's
I'm
no.
not gonna sign it. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna sign it. But I'm
Okay.
just saying.
Well, I'm just
1320
saying, there's a
1320 won't do
there's
it.
a buffer on the road, and now you're putting a quarter mile off of all non-participating, and there's that many houses, and they got to be a quarter mile from all those houses. So how would that work? If there's that many houses that close?
I'll draw it up for you.
All right.
I'll draw it up for you. 1320 at 70 feet. That's it.
Well, do you understand though? If you go any over that, it takes a square mile to have one tower.
That's great. That's the way it ought to be.
Well, then there's no property rights.
Yeah, there
Zero.
is. Sure there is. I don't smoke, but I'm not allowed to smoke in this building. I, in fact, have to be 25 feet from the door to be able to smoke. That's not infringing on my right to smoke. It's just protecting my neighbors and my people. So these turbines are much more invasive than a smoking person, in my view. If we can infringe upon their personal rights to smoke and set a setback that puts them away far enough where they're not going to cause me a problem, we can do that on turbines. And I've also heard the argument, this was in our county commissioner meeting here too, one of them asked me, well, where do you draw the line, Tom? You know, someone could move in right next to you and put in some sort of a cattle feedlot, or they could put in some sort of an industrial facility. That is true. When we moved to the country, we realized that there's not zoning. That could happen, all right? That, if it were to happen to me, it may affect 3 or 4 other families right close by. These wind turbines cover thousands of acres. impact hundreds of families. In fact, we mailing to the people just in the area of the Apex deal. So over 1,000 people received that mailing. So where I draw the line is, if it impacts more than 4 or 5 people who are right next door, then that's a big industrial area. We moved to the country to be in the country, not to be in an industrial area. And these things are tall, almost as tall as the Devon Tower. So 1320 is not near enough.
So
These other bills-
you'd rather not have anything than 1320.
They're already doing 1250, so I see no advantage.
You don't.
I don't.
All right.
I see his point, and I'm just gonna, I admit my sins because God already knows. I am a smoker. I didn't ever smoke with my kids in the car. Because why? Because that's their lungs. Most people don't know I smoke because why? Because I don't make them pay for what I do. That should be everybody. Business, corporate, anyone. First, do no harm. Do your business. Make money. Be profitable. That's what America's for. That's what Oklahoma's about. But you don't get to screw people in the middle of it. And I'm sorry for saying it that crude, but sometimes you got to do it.
I want some legislation passed. And
Yeah, but if it's worthless, I mean, if it's not.
it's not worthless. It could stop this project.
If
It
it's
could
only
stop this project.
okay, can
Because
you-
there's too many little parcels of ground that it's going to move it away.
Maybe we don't see it. If I
Do you
can
see
just
that,
go
Tom?
real
Do you
quick?
understand what he's saying? Because I don't see
I
it.
understand, but like you said, you got to look at all the different parcels. There are some places where they could put some. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. There are some landowners that have 160 acres. There are some that have, not 160 acres. I'm sorry, 640. But there are some that have 3 or 4 kind of tied together. All right, but Apex is looking for a place to put 85 wind turbines. And so I've got the maps. I've got a copy of their maps. They've identified the little blobs where they say they could place some. There's a lot of pink little blobs on there.
I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
when you take all the people that's not participating, and now you move them a quarter of a mile, it's going to take a bunch of 80s, 40s, and some quarters, depending on the houses, completely out of the project. It will cut the number of places they can use way down.
It will do that. I'll agree with you.
Yes.
It will cut it down. In highly populated areas, yes. I'll look at the map, I'll draw some circles, and I'll bring it to your office and I'll share it with you.
Why wouldn't you hear Hamilton's bill, which is 1.5 on it?
I am trying to talk to him about it and see if there's any leeway, because I've been told at the House they're not going to hear it.
Really?
Senator Green?
Yeah.
The setbacks right now are self-imposed from the wind turbine companies,
Right.
right? This will give us a solid state line.
Yes, that's what I told him. It gives
They
them
must be-
teeth
Yeah.
to know where it cannot go. Yeah.
I get it. Right now you
Yeah.
have nothing.
You have nothing. You have
If
nothing.
you have one house and that house sits on, like ours, we have 80 acres, but we were the only house on it. It's not, the setback isn't from our house, it's from the property line.
Both.
Of
Both.
Yeah, so it's from the property line of my 80 acres.
Yeah, if you're not
So-
participating, now it's a quarter from your house and from your property.
From my property line,
Yes.
so all four, yes.
Yes, all the way around.
So isn't there already a setback from the road? Isn't it like 600 feet?
I think 600 feet.
But that's the only, otherwise there is no
Yeah.
setback except their discretion, so at least there would be, I see what you're saying, it'd be something.
I have a person online that says, if you pass a bad law, they'll do the same as the human manure and chicken manure. We're not liable. We're just following the law. So do you feel that having a setback of 1/4 mile could result in landowners hurting landowners rather than if it wasn't there at all?
I don't know how. I don't. Pardon me? Yeah, I just think we need something. I mean, I don't want to say all wind companies are lying to you or they lie at all, but they could, because there's nothing to go on. There's no teeth in state law. Zero.
Well, and I talked to 84 attorneys, but I called an interview myself.
Michigan,
Every single word he said, ma'am, until legislators legislate, we've got nothing on the books. And that's what's even making it hard in the courts. So, you do have a point. We need something.
Gotta have some, and then if we can build off of it, that'd be great. But the environment down there right now, I don't think any one quarter is getting through both chambers.
No, a quarter's
I mean,
not.
I have visited with their energy chair, their sub chair, whatever. What do y'all call that other committee? Policy chair. That I visited with them, and I think Jim knows too. The environment's not good for getting much over that past.
They're having us, there's 4 or 5 of us that have setback bills in the house, and they're telling us to get together and compromise down to 1 bill. And I will tell you, I am the outlier in terms of distance and what I feel like is appropriate and what I'm hearing in this room and what y'all want. They're wanting a whole lot less.
So we need to start with something. Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Listen, I'm in agreement with y'all on most stuff. I mean, I'm not a renewal person by no means. But we might want more. But we got to decide whether we want some or nothing. That's what we got to decide.
I have a neighbor that lives just down the road from me. She just moved here this last year. They moved from Minko, where they bought a property and they lived there for 7 years. When they bought the property, they didn't think there was anything wrong, that there was a wind turbine a quarter of a mile from their house.
Right.
This lady had no health issues. Within 2 years, she had to have a walker and help walking. Within 5 years, she was bedridden and didn't care if she lived or not. Their house caught fire and burnt down, and they bought property down here away from their neighbors. So I know when this stuff started coming out, she goes, that's what my health, when she can track back her health and track back to what the research shows, her health problems were caused by that turbine. That's why I'm so worried about it. It's not for people's property rights. If we had anything else coming in that was going to affect this many people's health, a quarter of a mile is not, that's why I'm saying people are thinking that it is a matter of property rights or you against me. If we had anything else coming into this state that would do that much damage to that many people, we would be having a fit about it, and you guys would be standing up for it. That's why it concerns me so much, and why I hate for people to just kind of say, well, it's just kind of it's a property rights thing. They haven't done the research. They don't know what this is going to do. Everywhere it goes in, the quality of life for people and animals goes way down. And they're trying to kill us off with all kind of stuff. I don't want my own state being a part of ushering something in or saying we can't do something about something that is that dangerous. If we had a bomb dropped on us, it wouldn't affect as many people as if they put those turbines in these 13 states that we're looking at. And that is why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I'm so mad about it, because I never felt so unprotected in my own country until this came. You can keep China out from coming and attacking us, but you can't keep them from buying our land and for putting things in that are going to be detrimental to our health. It's not a personal property thing, I don't think, and I don't think very many people understand that, but I've spent thousands and thousands of hours researching because it is going to directly affect me, and it's going to directly affect all the people that are around me that I care about.
Well, just know I'm trying to do something.
Okay, thank you.
I am. I bled and sweat to pay for property, and I don't want people telling me what I'm going to do on my property.
Right.
But my bill helps those people beside me. That's what my bill does.
I know, but I'm still, a quarter mile is still, that's still playing their game. I feel.
Thanks, boss. You bet. Hey, I appreciate it.
I know
I appreciate
that you and
you.
your wife.
I appreciate people that can speak like
We
you
do too, obviously. How are we gonna make sure that our government is gonna reach our
Long time no see. You're a stranger.
I don't want, I agree with you guys, texting, it's not a problem, but how do we not get involved? I love my government, but I want to be in control of my house.
Yes, ma'am. If you look up HJR 1010-1010, I authored that this year, which would provide a constitutional amendment that says that the government cannot tell you, either homeschool, private school, anybody that doesn't take state money or receive some sort of state level education, how to run your school or how to run your curriculum or anything else. So I am pushing for that constitutional amendment. So, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You bet.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we're gonna wrap up because we had asked Representative Shaw and Senator Grant Green, we're gonna take them on a little tour of Tryon, and so we wanted to make sure they'll be back in public.
Cousin, I don't hear you.
You'll be sick.